Nice background.
Oh, dude.
Dude, so
It knew. It knew. What's going on, Dave?
Hi to Dave.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Whoa, look at your face painting.
Yeah, tell him how you did it.
I used a Sharpie.
Yep.
Oh, that sounds permanent for a little while.
This is what happens when my trading in my game gets serious.
No.
There's a cat game that apparently there's trading and
There's a pink cat.
there's pink. Okay. Of course there
That
is.
is so cool.
All right, Dad's going to do this thing. Can you need anything? Okay, can you close the door? Thanks, sweetie pie.
Well, this is going to be great because now you're very tolerant for when my kids interrupt.
Heck yeah,
Dude.
we're all tapped here, dude. Check.
What's up, everybody? It's your friend Isaac from Big Bike BMX, and we are super stoked. Craig and I are here. This is an interview that I've wanted to do for Craig, 6 months now?
Oh, definitely, if not longer. What's up, everyone? It's BMX Craig here with Isaac. Yeah, man, it's been a while we've been talking about this. Been working hard on it too, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things like message. Like, I hope at some point this person sees our message on Instagram and says it's cool if we have a chat. And then finally it happened. And this is a guest that all of our guests tend to talk about too. They always mention, like, you know, this particular guest gets mentioned in a lot of our interviews as like the you know, fun
Dude,
memories.
it's like all the crazy,
one.
the crazy, like, oh, you guys want to hear a crazy story? Oh yeah, and then somewhere in that story, Dave Voelker ends up coming through. You know, it's like this is a no-brainer. So yeah, man, I'm stoked.
Well, with that, I'm stoked to introduce you all to one of your favorite riders that you grew up idolizing. You grew up, if you're like me, being anxiously watching them do like things that are just incomprehensible on a BMX bike, especially the engineering that we grew up on those bikes. What he was able to perform blows minds, and just to watch video of him still blows minds. So with that, I welcome your friend, my friend, Dave Lord Voelker. What's up, Dave?
Hey, what's up, guys? Wow, I'm blushing right now, man. That was quite the introduction.
Dude, you are a legend. I think everyone that rides bikes today, that goes hard and goes crazy, and the things that we see every day from modern riders, you are definitely the root of what I think a lot of them are doing and seeing, because you were doing, like, this isn't me just trying to like float your ego, but you were doing things that were supposed to not be possible on our little 20-inch bikes with the weird engineering that we had in the 80s and 90s.
Well, that was kind of the point at that point in time, right? I mean, was to push it and see what kind of weird, different thing you could do on a bicycle. And I think that's, you know, what Evil did on a motorcycle, was show people that it wasn't just to ride down a street. Look what else it could do. Ride wheelies, jump it, you know.
That's funny you mentioned Evil, Dave, because we were just talking the other day. We had in our last interview, and we were talking about Evel Knievel, and just that being like, you know, as kids, you know, like for Isaac and I, we could look through magazines, we could see different riders do stuff, and we can go, oh man, I want to do that, I want to do this. But somewhere, for at least me, and I know Isaac, like an Evel Knievel was something everyone who even wanted to ride a dirt bike or ended up riding a BMX or just wanted to get aggro on anything can quote and say, yo, I saw Evel jump the canyon, I saw him jump the fountains at Vegas, whatever, right? And that's crazy that you had that, because that was like one of the first things I was going to get into, was just like, you know, you started way, you know, back in the 80s and maybe even further back than that. But for us, you know, we had the idols that we had. Like, what were you, when you started, tell me a little bit about like when you started riding bikes, like what got you on a bike? What turned the corner for you to be like, dude, I'm going to take this, I'm going to get like crazy on this thing? And
that's funny, because I mean, growing up, instantly I had a knack for just being crazy on a bicycle. Like the bigger kids were stacking bricks and then laying the board on the brick, and then they would have me jump and land up on the top of the curb, and then they'd scoot it back from the curb further, and then I'd rip down the street and I'd jump and I'd clear that gap, and they had scoot it back further, and they kept going, the older kids, until I would blow out my back wheel. You know what I mean? Like, they just wanted to see what happened, because I wasn't going to stop.
So
I wanted to do it further and further.
Yeah, dude, you were the kid that everyone was like, I ain't going to do it, I ain't going to do it. You're like Mikey from the commercials, man. Get Mikey or get Dave, he'll try it. Like, you were that kid, right? And you were probably like, I got it.
Yeah, no, I had abs all the time growing up. You know, I was that kid. I wanted to be like Evel Knievel and push it as far as I could and become kind of a local legend. It wasn't a worldwide legend. It was just back then the hero of my neighborhood. You know what I mean? My dad built me jumps at a young age, very young age, and I was already jumping big gaps and stuff, trying to be evil.
The local legend thing, that's amazing, because I think everybody has a local legend in their neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has one. No matter if you were in New York, you were in Iowa, you were in Northern California, or you were in Santee. Like, there was a local legend in every neighborhood.
And obviously there was no internet or anything, so it was literally word of mouth. You heard somebody jumped over 13 trash cans.
Dude, that's like what being legends is about. Like the lore, the lore. Like, you go to school, like, hey, dude, did you know Dave jumped those trash cans this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard about it. See, that I heard about it. Not like I downloaded the video or I streamed it, bro. It's legendary lore of the
dude
tales.
That dropped 3 weeks ago. That's so old.
100%, dude. Oh, I can't. That's such a true statement. I kind of want to fast forward to, like, from that to, you were a local legend, and then
real quick, I have to mention, because this was a very important trick back in the day. I was a wheelie king, literally, and I would stand on a peg on my back axle, but it wasn't a peg. It was the inner part of a coaster brake that held the little shim things, and we screwed it on the outside. The older kids did, and I learned how to do one-footed manuals down the street, which are coaster wheelies, by the way, and just doing coaster wheelies down the hill with a coaster brake and that kind of stuff. So manuals were a big part of my life before I was even a teenager, like way before I was a teenager.
Was that your favorite trick to do as a kid? Was it jumping, or was it that feeling, that weightless wheelie feeling?
No, it was jumping, dude. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you were a local legend, and then, fast forward to the show days. You got your start. Can you just give us like a quick brief overview of what that was like, jumping into like the school shows and things like that?
Yeah, I just got to throw it out. Like, I'm 18 years old and I couldn't like get out of my little town. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to contests because I didn't care. I was kind of content being a superstar in my neighborhood type of deal. And everybody kind of forced me to go to a contest. They paid my way, Toby Henderson's old leathers. I go up to LA, I enter the contest, I do real good, but nothing happens. But all of a sudden this guy, Brian Skura, calls me up and says, hey, I got a show company and I'd like to try you out to see if you would fit in my shows. And I said, cool. He brought a ramp down. I tested out the ramp, did my stuff on it. And he just kind of was hesitant about it. But his main athlete got hurt and he hired me to do a show in Orange County Fair. And boom, all of a sudden he was using me for shows in 1985, 86. And then I did shows all of 86 with them. And then GT realized, hey, we need to send this guy to a contest. And my career started in 1987.
I got to ask you real quick. Let me just interject. Like, that seems like the strangest pairing in the world to me. Like, Dave Voelker and Brian Skura. Like, that just seems like the weirdest. Like, what did you guys get along? Was he cool? Was like, because you're such like you kind of touched on it. In my neighborhood, like, we had terms for stuff. You were like the soul rider. You were like I'm not here to win a trophy. I'm here to win your respect, not a piece of metal. And then you had Brian
Yes.
Skura, who was kind of the opposite of that in my memory growing up. What was that like?
So he was very, how do you say it? Showy, but I know that's not the right word, but he really was into theatrics, I guess would be the word. So he wanted to make the show very, entertaining, meet George Jetson type of stuff, wearing a mask and all this kind of stuff. So he's a very creative guy and wants to entertain people a certain way. And I was just like, dude, I just want to hit the ramp, but he wouldn't let me until the end of the show type of thing. So he actually molded me on how to entertain people and then entertain them with my talent. So I got the best of both. And I kind of understood it at the time because he's very intelligent guy, very intelligent. So I was really learning a lot from him. But obviously he's a mad scientist and thinks a little different than people are used to.
Well, that's crazy. And I think the word, I mean, we talked about it with past guests, Dave, is like showmanship, the entertainment factor, not only just doing what you naturally do on the ramps or on the street, whatever, it's also about giving the crowd a good time, and that showmanship.
Yeah. And that's what meant a lot to me. It did. It made me feel good to make people smile.
Now, when Brian was, okay, so were you actually doing how did I know he came to you, you talked about, he brought you kind of into the fold, into the scene, but did you have to audition or something? I mean, was it at one of the shows, or did you bring you in a backyard somewhere? What was that process like? How did he actually tell you all right, dude, I'm bringing you on?
Like I said, he actually brought ramps from Orange County down to San Diego, my hometown, Santee, and put the ramp up in my high school parking lot. So he was trying me out to see if he liked me, type of thing. You know what I mean? But I was too sketchy for him or something like that. I wasn't exactly his cup of tea, but then he worked with me and it just kind of worked out. It's very difficult to, I don't know how it happened, but it did.
That's cool though. I mean, it's one of those things I think a lot of the legendary guys, like Craig had said, like Eddie Fuel had talked about doing shows with Gail Webb and how he learned how to entertain people and how that helped him and moved his career along because he learned how to do that. He learned how to work a crowd. And it sounds like that's kind of what you learned from doing those shows, because I mean, watching you watching Dave Voelker ride, I still to this day, watching old videos, remember the anxiety I would have when I'd see you live, because Dave Voelker was the guy that was like Evil. Okay, so Evil Knievel, you would watch him jump. You'd see it hyped up. You're like, okay, Evil Knievel, and even the news people would be like, Evil Knievel's going to jump something, maybe. You know what I mean? It's always like that asterisk. Like, you're going to watch him try something. You didn't know if it's going to happen. Yes. And then I remember watching you at a show, or as a contest. Man, I'm old, dude, so I don't remember exactly where it was. But I remember you pedaling. I was there live, and I remember watching you pedal way too fast at a transition wall ride. And I'm like, okay, he's not going to do a wall ride. He's going to do something else. And sure enough, man, wall ride. And it was so high up on this wall. And I had no idea where you were going to land. Like, everyone else was just kind of popping off and dropping. And then you're way up on this wall, and you transition to a ramp that wasn't even meant to be the landing ramp. In my memory, that's the way it happened. But you're just I remember all of us were like, ooh, holding our breath. Like, you all just kind of compressed because you're like, what the hell is he going to do? And that seems to me like that's your career.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what I would do, though. I would search for something that was different because I didn't want to be like everybody else. I want to, here's an example. I did this stupid trick called a Voelker flyout. And what was a Voelker flyout? It was me pedaling my ass off, acting like I'm going to blast to the stars. And then I'll jump out on the quarter pipe in the midair 8 feet and grab my bike and land on the deck like I was crashing. And nobody had a clue what the hell I was doing. So it just broke up the monotony of pedaling up the ramp, turning around, doing your, no hand or whatever, and coming back down. It was more of just freak people out. And then you get to do a fist pump and a rock walk in and just make people smile. And that's
I gotta say, Dave, and sorry for interrupting, man, but that, like Isaac said, dude, that was like watching you. It was almost like you did that, like you clinched up and you were like, "Ooh!" But then again, the end result of everything was like, "Damn, I never seen a wall ride that high." Like I've watched this whole competition, and I've seen XYZ riders do this and that, but there's Dave, like he went above where the tire marks are and then got up super high, came down, and then he's pedaling to something else. Transitions were crazy. The 700 720s over the box or whatever it was. I was just like, Dave always takes it, whatever someone's highest level is, then he just like jettisons over that, and it was just like to have that energy. Like I wanted your energy. Because you just didn't see, you saw it, but like you just pushed it,
that was kind of the story of my whole life of riding was if you're not going higher than everyone else, then you didn't do the best. You know what I mean? Like I had to go further or higher than everybody else because that was my goal. Like Evil didn't jump less than somebody else. He wanted to go further than anybody ever had before.
Yeah, and it was crazy because, like, not only did you push that envelope and actually do it, you were also a technical rider too. From my standpoint, it's like the big airs, like guys, it seems like some guys would just go for the biggest air they could, and that's cool. But you had that technicality with it too. I mean, you were doing things during those big airs and in between on the other side of the transition, where it was like, damn, not only can he go 15, 20 feet in the air, he can pull off these amazing technical tricks as well. So,
well, that was a huge part of our sport at the beginning was how could you be different than everybody else? You know what I mean? Like a nose pick tail whip happened because I did a nose pick on a rock one day and I was too far over. So I stepped off, but I had nowhere to put my foot because I was on a rock. So I put my foot on the tire and the back end swung around. I said, wait a minute, what was that? You know what I mean? Or I invented a turn down because I was trying to go up in the air and then I wanted to come back down backwards and turn around at the last second. And it just made me automatically at peak twist or else I was going to die. So it just twisted into a turn down.
I invented a trick so I didn't die. That's perfect. but that okay. So for me growing up, flatland tricks progressed from just doing like one trick into doing combinations. And where I really remember, at least in my mind, where my fondest memories of watching you was watching you do, ramps were amazing because it was like a huge air, bigger than anything I'd ever seen on a little tiny sketchy ramp, like that was like 3 feet wide, back in the day. But watch like when street riding became a thing and it was like, okay, you'd see someone do wall ride and then you're like, cool, wall ride 360, off of it. Or, the combinations that you would do on street, you and Eddie and Pete and people like that. Do you remember, what was it like when you were transitioning? Because there's a couple of questions here, like, how responsive were the magazines to the type of riding you were going with and things like that. But what was it like for you when street started to go from just us playing around to like, this is something that's like, this is starting to get coverage. What was that like, that chapter in freestyle for you?
It was, I don't know if I could say this, but it was like coming out of a vagina. I was like, opened up to a new world. Here I come, man. This is my world. This is what I want to do. Like I can express myself however the hell I wanted. I didn't have to be like pedaling at a ramp, turning around just like everybody else. I could pedal and hit that ramp and land over there. You know what I mean? So this is a brand new world that I finally got to express myself. So I was just like fresh as could be. Here I come. So you want to see some shit? Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. At what point, Dave, you're going from the neighborhood hero, the legend of the hood, you're now going into the shows, you're starting to do schools and bigger and bigger and bigger. At what point were you like, dude, this is like, this could be my bread and butter, man. This could be my,
never. It was always just like, I can't believe I'm in a magazine. Like how did I deserve this? You know, how could I get so lucky? I was, wow, just amazed, dumbfounded that it was happening, because all I wanted to do was ride my bike, and all of a sudden shit just kept happening and happening and happening. And I'm like, what? You want to pay me to ride a bike? I'm going, I'll do it for free. I just want to ride. I mean, my bike.
But at some point, I mean, I get that too. At some point, you know, you're booking a flight, you're going overseas, or you're traveling the United States or whatever. And, you know, I think I heard or read something where you and Rick Moliterno were doing a show in front of a crowd of like 20,000 people. I mean, do those moments hit you like, I'm actually here, bro? I mean, this is just nuts, man. I mean, and that must psych you up and get you so stoked, man. I mean, things like that. Can you give us some insight at like traveling or going on tour? What you were feeling at that time?
Well, I'm going to talk about the Rick one real quick, because we were in Bercy Stadium in Paris, and that was a Voelker flyout situation that will never, ever leave my mind, because I did the Voelker flyout, and it's all spotlights. There's no crowd or nothing. You can't see anything. It's just spotlights on me at that particular moment. And I landed on the deck, and I raised my arm like, hell yeah. And the whole crowd got so loud, it actually scared the crap out of me. Like, it was so loud. I felt like this little tiny thing. I was like, I got to get out of here. I dropped it and went and rode some more, because it was scary. 20,000 people roar. But
that's crazy.
As like being at NBA stadiums or 60,000 people at an Eagles game, you know, in Philly, I was like, dude, this is like, who would ever guess? I just wanted to ride my bike, and it just was flowing. It just happened. Very fortunate.
Amazing. That's amazing. And the coolest part of like like what stands out to me was like, okay, local legend in Santee doing insane jumps on a curb, to, you know, this awakening with street riding that happened after like the ramp riding and things like that, you know, kind of just emerged. I mean, what did you realize at the time that you guys, you know, I say you guys, like your crew, I mean, for me, it was always like Grosso, you know, Pete Augustin, Eddie.
It pretty much was our world, correct? I mean, it wasn't just about these athletes that were in the magazines. It was about our scene. It was a family. We're still a family. That's how well we were all put together. It was a small world, and obviously we're still all together. You know what I mean?
Do you have like, I mean, from those things, did you have a favorite? Because like I think about my writing and the tricks I did that felt the purest and they felt the best, and I loved them. Did you have a favorite? Like, is wall riding, is you know, doing picks? Like, what's your favorite thing when if you have a dream about doing street riding? What are you doing? What trick are you doing?
Well, I remember fondly thinking of an idea of building a dirt jump to a wall, and it had never been done before. And I thought about it, and it just happened to work out. Once we built it, it worked perfect, and it's still one of the best feelings in the world, because how fast you pedal, how fast your wheels are spinning, and then you hit the wall, and you're able to climb the wall, and it's vertical, and it just was impossible when I was a kid, you know. So wall rides are just amazing.
I agree. Yeah.
Dave, you know, one of the things that we were talking about with a couple of past guests is just like the evolution of the sport, not only about when it started and how it died out for certain things like freestyle or whatever, but, you know, one of the things with street riding, park riding, whatever, ramp, vert, there was this period of time where it seemed like, you know, freestyle obviously had lost its grip on this, you know, in the BMX and everything. And as things were starting to die out, all the extreme sports, skateboarding, BMX, and when I say die out, they just weren't getting the attention, right? Guys, I don't know how they were feeding themselves. If they were going into the BMX business or what they were doing, right? Along came something called, I think it was Extreme Games or X, you know, I don't know what they called it first, but X Games. Where were you at? Like, and if you guys don't know out there, you know, Dave competed in the X Games, but when that came around and that was pitched to you, or they said, hey man, we want you to be in this, like, how did that happen? and where were you at in BMX? Were you still riding, or tell us about that a little bit?
So I'm just traveling the world and entertaining people with freestyle shows, you know, just doing shows all over the place. And that was my bread and butter. Like, that's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to compete anymore. And then all of a sudden, you know, 95, 96, they're having the X Games in Providence, Rhode Island. And I saw it happening, and I was going, you know what? Next year, they're coming to San Diego. I want to show my friends what I do for a living, because they don't have a clue. They don't, you know, there was no internet. There was nothing for them to be able to watch what I do. So I was like, oh, cool, man. They're coming to San Diego. I'm going to come out of retirement and show everybody what I do for a living. You know what I mean? So when it came to San Diego, I entered, and it just changed my life. Like, all of a sudden, the X Games really were blowing up at that point, and I blew up with GT bicycles. They were going, oh my God, this is amazing. You're killing it. You're back. So all of a sudden, here I am. I'm just in this competing world again.
I mean, what was X Games like, dude?
Oh, it was just this amazing. Like, when the X Games started, it was this thing that was so far beyond anything we had ever imagined in extreme sports. You know, you got skydivers with the snowboards on their feet doing their little deal, and you got barefoot ski jumpers seeing how far they could go. You got 97, they put up the snowboard jump in the bay when it's like 85 degrees out. You're like, this is an amazing world that's going on. Like, it was just chaos. It was beautiful. So much money was flying out the window everywhere. Like, athletes were killing it. Everybody was happy.
And you know what? We were talking with R.L. Osborne, and we were talking about a show he was on called That's Incredible, where basically he raced a horse. You know, it was like, it got him on TV, it got exposure and everything. But one of the things he brought up was like, oh man, you know, we did a practice run. I hit the ramps. I did this track that the horse was going to race me against. And then that night, the day before they were going to actually film the show, the producers somebody went in and changed the ramps. They added a little bit more vert, or they did something that changed the dynamic, right? So I'm thinking, like, dude, when you got to X Games, and I know that they were in Rhode Island and then San Diego, were you like kind of skeptical of like, is this really going to be a true BMXers type of setup on this, you know, the way they had the ramp set up, the way that was spaced out, or anything like that? Were you kind of like just unknown at first, or was it like really set up well, or how was that?
It was just basically show up and feel the ramps out, and it was just trusted. Whoever built them was a BMXer, and it was solid stuff. Like, everything was proper. So instantly it was just comfort.
Nice.
That's perfect, dude. Yeah. Like okay. So I have so many questions. So that my questions are going to jumble all over the place, you know, going instead of like timeline.
That's my brain.
I remember. So you played such a big part of like the initial magazines kind of floated away. And then all of a sudden there was like I call it like the VHS era. And I remember watching, you know, was it Agro Man?
Agro riding.
Yeah, Agro Man.
But the Ride On was the biggest one. Yeah, Ride On video was the big one. Yeah.
Is that which is the favorite of all the videos that you participated in? Do you have a favorite where you're like, man, that was such a, maybe not even, it doesn't have to be the best riding, but what was your favorite experience of any of those old school VHS tapes that you were a part of?
It's definitely Ride On, because I was able to show kids they didn't have to have ramps at their house. I was doing a lot of crap on curbs at the time, and I was just showing people you don't need to have ramps. You can create whatever you want out of whatever you have. You know what I mean? Like, go express yourself on a curb. And I see kids today doing like a 360 onto something and a 360 off, and I'm going, dude, that's so cool. That's something I was doing in 1991. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I love that video because it was, you were able to show different things that had never been seen before to the public.
Yeah. Was GT Dyno, were they always supportive of your riding and the way you wanted to ride, or were they ever, I'm not asking you to dog a brand or anything like that if it was a bad experience, but I mean, were they always super supportive of you being free to do what you wanted, the riding you wanted to do, or did they ever try and keep you in a box? Because it seems like in the late 80s, there was just a lot of control from sponsors where they were trying to control brands and images. And it just seemed like you were the anarchy guy, man. It was just like, the term I use now is like, hold my beer and then watch something amazing happen. Right. But like back then it seemed like that's kind of the route you took. It was just like, just watch me do this cool thing. And you created an industry. So were they always super supportive of you?
So 98 was last year in San Diego of X Games, and I told them I wanted to retire, the whole deal. So TV jumped all over it. They were like, okay, this is his last contest. And I got like a 4th or a 5th or something. I didn't do too well, but I was done. And then GT was like, oh, no, you have to go to the X Games. They're killing it. And they just talked me into it. We didn't have agents, they gave me a pay raise and all that kind of stuff, which was minuscule. But all of a sudden, so 99, I'm up in San Francisco. I didn't really want to be there, but whatever. I competed. I did okay. I think I got 4th that year. And then 2000 comes along. They made me go again, but my son Cole is supposed to be born in 2000 in August, right when the X Games were going down. I was like, dude, I got to be home for the birth of my son. Come on, I've had a daughter already last year. Now I'm going to have a son. I want to be at home. And they were like, nope, you got to go. You got to go. I was like, oh, dude. So I go through the what's that called? The practice one, or not practice one, the qualifying. So I'm in qualifying and I just like instantly like do a couple tricks and then I pedal my ass off and I jump over this huge deck, over a rail, and land in the motocross section, like just exited the course. And I was like, cool, I'll get TV coverage and I'm going home. You know what I mean? Like I'm not qualified. So all of a sudden everybody opens up these walls, there's people on both sides, and the only thing I see in front of me is the course again. They send me back out on the course. I'm going, now I'm stuck. What do I do? And I ended up crashing, and I got a lot of footage from that. I did a tail tap, went to nose pick, but I hit my chest on the spine, and I was 50-50 on the spine. But yeah, that, so they kind of forced me into that kind of stuff. But I got an action figure that year and all kinds of like toy bikes, and yeah, I don't know. We just needed agents. we didn't make much money.
That's crazy, dude. So going
I don't
beyond
know
that.
Sorry, but
What's that?
I don't know if I answered your question or not, but I just went crazy.
No, I mean, I love that, and it brings me into like we're the Big Bike BMX show. I recently rode your orange bike. How did the collaboration come back full circle? Because it just seems like all of a sudden it's like, I mean, I walk into a bike shop for the first time in 10 years, and you can't miss your bike, the orange one from last year. It glows, it practically glows in the dark.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
In a sea of mountain bikes and the same color and the same thing, there's the pretzel bars and there's your orange bike. How did they approach you, or were they like, hey man, we're going to do this. We want to do this thing, or how did they approach you on that? What was it like?
Yeah. So GT calls me up, Ben Ward, and he was like, hi Dave. Yeah, I work for GT, and we want to do a signature bike with you again. And I was like, oh, wow. That's so awesome, man. Like I get really pumped up. And then he says, but it's got to be a 29. I said, a 29? What is a 29? So he tells me about this whole world that exists out there. And I was like, oh, wow, man. I don't know. And he goes, well, I'll send you a bike and you ride it and, just let me know. And I got a GT Performer and a 29er. And I rode it around and I was going, oh, my God, I am rejuvenated. Like I can ride a bike. I had a bad knee injury at my house. I'm barbecuing. I'm telling the story. I'm barbecuing. My son's out riding the ramps I have in my front yard. I threw on a pair of shoes between flip and chicken, and I do a front wheel grab. I miss my grip. I blow my knee out. I shattered my kneecap into over 20 pieces. I can't ride 20-inch anymore because my knee doesn't bend very good. You know what I mean? I can't go pedaling down. I can't sit down or nothing. So when I got the 29, I was able to ride, and I was going, oh, this is awesome. And if I show up at a skate park, kids aren't going to expect me to be doing flip fakies or anything. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of pressure when you show up at a skate park and you're supposed to be the superstar guy, but you just want to ride a bike. You know what? I found it to be rejuvenating. I feel great about it. And yeah, let's do this 29 thing. So it all just fell into place.
Yeah, there's a bike crew out of Las Vegas. I think it's Las Vegas. I hope it's right. They're called Seven Shit, and they have a crew that strictly rides the Voelker 29-inch dyno, dude. So you see this sea of like hazard orange, Dayglow orange bikes with pretzel bars coming down the street, all doing wheelies. But they've chosen your bike to ride, dude, and it's pretty badass. You know, to see that many bikes of the same style coming down. And I totally can relate with you, blowing my knee out, not being able to do certain tricks on the 20. And like we were talking about before the show, you know, getting on these big bikes again, especially at our age, it just seems like the right fit, the right timing. It takes a minute to acclimate a little bit to them. You know, that feeling of just like, damn, this bike's big. But then, you know, you start realizing the geometry is just, it's the same style geometry as a BMX. It's got that feel to it that's easy to get used to. Yeah, totally. So when you agree to, you know, okay, let's do the bike. Yep, I'm down. I'm stoked. Were you also aware of what was going on with the culture at the time, Dave? Like, you know, this whole bike, they call it the bike life scene, the wheelie culture and all that. Was that something on your radar? Like, or did that come after the bike design and everything came out?
No, when I got the 29, I instantly started to go on rides, and I felt the whole like atmosphere of these guys don't know who I am or who I used to be, and I enjoy that. Like, I enjoy being a regular person on a bicycle that could talk bicycle and hang out. You know what I mean? Like, this is awesome. So I was very behind it instantly, going, this is amazing to me. Like, to have a fresh world. Everybody's learning like how to roll down the street backwards again with it being brand new, and yeah, just a really cool vibe. Really cool.
That's cool too, because you know, you didn't flex on them that you were the neighborhood wheelie king or anything, right?
No. Oh. And the Seven Shit guys, by the way, are really good friends, and I really enjoy them. And I just met them by doing a ride, and I started talking to the main dude, Chop, and Chop and I hit it off, and he just showed respect right away and kind of like looked into who I used to be, and we just clicked, man. So anytime you're in Vegas, you hit up the Seven Shit guys.
Oh, absolutely, man. And do you find it kind of interesting how like there are, like, you go on a ride out and there's kids doing all these tricks, and you know, they don't know kind of like I'm not saying they don't, but some may not know the history, you know, the guys who kind of came in and were doing the same stuff 35 years ago with tricks on bikes and stuff, but these kids nowadays, they want to ride, like, you know, they want to do wheelies, but they want to do more. You know, they want to progress, because just like we did as kids, you know, you wheelie, you do certain tricks, you build jumps, and you're like, you just keep adding on to the bar, you know, you just keep raising it. So a lot of these kids, and I've said this quite a few times, they're asking me like, what can I do now? You know, what's the newest, what can I get into? I got the wheelie down, I'm doing the footwork on the back. What's next? And I've said it quite a few times. I send them to YouTube. Go check this dude out. Go check this video out. You know what I'm saying? And they come back like, hey, dude, I can do that endo now. And I'm all, sweet. You know?
Yeah. The last weekend I was on a big ride in Long Beach, and I brought my 24-inch and I put 4 pegs on. I haven't had 4 pegs on a bike in I don't know how long, you know. So I learned how to do hang 5s again because it's been so long and the bike's different and all that. But I did some hang 5s, and kids were going, oh man, that's awesome. I want to learn that. Like, that's really cool. So it's fun to open up their eyes to something different. Yeah.
What did you think about the ride out culture? Like on your first ride out, like I don't know where you went or how many people were there, but what did you feel about like, like like I see it as a new era. I see it as like a new, like freestyle came in and it was just so hot and everything. And it's just like, we're like Isaac and I talk about this. We're a part of this new era, fairly new era. It's been around several years, but it's like,
Yeah.
it feels like a new era of BMX, because it is on big bikes. So, I mean, what was your first feeling about like, wow, all these guys are getting together and all these people are riding and all that. So,
oh, dude, I was so happy. I went to a 4130 Subway Series ride on a Saturday night, and it was big, and I was just in awe. I was looking around. I mean, they got a food truck in the parking lot where we're meeting, and I'm in Hollywood. I just got off of a Subway. I've never been on a Subway in LA before, and I've got this big-ass bike, and I'm looking around going, dude, this is amazing. And I hear 20 inchers ripping on it all the time, and I'm going, dude, if you went on a ride, you wouldn't be acting like that. That's so blind. Open your eyes, man.
100%, dude. Like what blew my mind when so I was researching bikes. I was like, okay, what bike do I want to get? And I got the Big Ripper, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I see your friend Gabe Weed on your bike. And I literally just wanted to shut my computer down and then never ride my bike again. Because if you've seen, I'm going to put a link. I'll put a link, like a box or something. I'll learn how to do this on YouTube, but I'll put a link to Gabe Weed riding your bike. Because
yes, please do. Or at least, if you could just show a little box up in the corner with him riding it, that's so cool, because he killed it. He did a decade over the top, and people, if they realize how big that bike is, he's jumping over the top of the head tube with the front end up in the air. That's a big deal.
Oh yeah, dude. I was telling Isaac, I'm like, hey, we were talking about Gabe on your bike, and I'm like, watch that decade, man. How high he has to jump just to get over the top. Yeah. I'm like, Gabe's like 3 feet he's 3 foot over the bike just to get over on the
yeah. And let me clarify real quick. Okay. So decades were scary in the 90s for 14, 15-year-old Isaac. Now the decades that Gabe is doing are the ones where you jump. It's like a boomerang decade. He doesn't do the one where you touch your, where you jump from the seat clamp or the seat tube. He does that jump over where or the legs go when you flick your legs up when you go over the top, and he does a bunch of hang fives on this thing. And I remember thinking, my God, how terrifying that would be. So shout out to Gabe Weed. Shout out to your bike for being able to handle that. And for showing people like me that grew up doing those tricks, like, hey man, you're not an orphan. Dave has your back on his bike. And it'll take the abuse. I mean, literally, that's amazing.
Well, you know what really stoked me about trying tricks on the 29 is it felt like it was 1984 all over again, or 1982, where you're trying to do a bunny hop 360 and you're going, wow, this is a challenge again. And isn't that what it was all about? The challenge of learning these tricks are what gives you those memories for life. So Here I am trying to tail tap my ramp on a 29, and I'm starting all over again. And it's a challenge, and I got to figure things out. And I found that to be refreshing.
100%. 100%. I have to say, too, I am so inspired because I've said this multiple times. And if you've never heard our podcast, I'll be embarrassed now that I'm telling you that I say this all the time. But you have because Greg and I are both dads. You have one of the coolest experiences. It was with John Bulgens that we talked about this, but there's a photo that I saw. I think it was I saw the video first, but then I saw a photo of your son, what looked like to me 20 feet in the air, doing a gap at a skate park with you. And I'm like, with Dave, with you sitting on your bike, as your son airs out over the top of you. And
please show that photo.
Believe me, I'll put it up because it's to me, that is the exclamation point of what a dad moment would be. What's it like watching your son. I haven't mentioned his name, but you have. So because I don't know if you want to mention like
No, please, Cole Voelker. It's so simple.
So
Just look him up and check out his stuff.
Cole Voelker, you guys,
Cole with a K.
Yeah, Cole. Yeah, Cole with a K. If you look up Cole Voelker's Instagram, just like a couple days ago, I saw him doing like a crazy like 360 out to manual reverse back into a bowl. Like the skills this young man has is ridiculous. Like it's DNA. You could tell it's DNA. But what's it like as a father being able to watch your son do that? Like, do you ever like freak out like, oh God, don't get hurt, or are you just balls out, go?
Well, from an early age, I was like, oh man, I don't think he's ever going to make it because he wasn't getting stitches. He wasn't breaking arms. He wasn't doing these things. You know what I mean? But he has his own way of doing it to where it's like now I'm just going, oh my God, he's so much more talented than I've ever been. And he's just very, you watch your own videos these days. So he's very precise about how you finish, how your angles are in the middle of a trick so you don't look sketchy. It's like a whole different world that I'm not into, per se, because I pedaled hard and I landed hard. But he's very smooth, and I'm just amazingly proud because he is literally like on the edge of blowing up right now. He just got a major deal going on, and that today was a very stressful day. He's about to go on the road with the biggest hitters in the sport, like some of the biggest hitters because there's so many now, but he's about to go on a big trip with these, just major guys. Yeah.
What's it like? I mean, because were you able to, like, what advice would you give him? I mean, because this brings you even back to like more dad moments. Like you've been that guy that was jumping on a van and heading off into the sunset to live a BMX adventure. And here you are telling us, I didn't even know that, but like he's getting ready to go on a tour. Like, yes. What's that like for Dave Voelker, the dad, versus Dave Voelker, the rider?
I just can't believe it. You know what I mean? Because honestly, there's a lot of my buddies that were all hoping for this. And then how did I get so lucky that it's actually happening? But I also was the father that my son showed up at old school reunions on a scooter, and everybody's pissed off going, why are you letting him ride a scooter? And I'm like, dude, he's learning all the skills. I don't care. Let him be happy. If he decides to jump on a bike, he's going to be able to just start killing it right away, which he rode a bike, here and there, always growing up. He jumped his booster seat at 3 years old before he turned 4. Right before he turned 4, he jumped his booster seat. I don't have the photo. Brian Blyther took the photo, and I can't find the photo, but so I just let him do what he wanted. It all worked out, and I'm just more than happy that it did so far. I mean, I hope he still is able to do it because there's some stupid crap going on. But
that's crazy, man. So of all the old school guys, I mean, do you still keep in touch with a lot of them? Because it sounds like do you still stay in touch with Blyther or Eddie? Like, who are you still tight with? You said you ride with, like, you're still close, like a brotherhood with them today. Who are you so close with?
Pete Augustin's a very good friend that we always hang out. I got Brian Blyther. Him and I were always, when we weren't on tour, we were at Glamis together. Like, we always were out there riding motorcycles, 3-wheelers, quads, everything. And so he's a very tight friend. Mike Dominguez, Xavier Mendez. So they're all three with Haro, and they have their own bike. It's called the Slow Ride. And it's a bitchin' bike. And Xavier and I were just we call him X and I were just at the Long Beach last weekend riding together, and he's signing all these bikes. He had more bikes than I did out there. And it's a cool deal to be a part of. So yeah, it's just really awesome to see everybody. I'm going to a reunion in a couple of weeks on the East Coast at Woodward, and I get to see everybody. Jamie Bestwick's having us come out, and we're all just going to have a big East Coast bicycle old school reunion. It's bitching.
No, I think that's pretty rad. You mentioned earlier, just a second ago about, the Haro Slow Ride. You got, you've got Haro. So you got Haro. We're talking about big bikes here. You got Haro. Yeah, you got the Haro, obviously you got the SE, you got Mike Buffs, you got these companies are starting to, or not starting to, but there seems like there's like a connection with the old school legends. Um, Haro Slow Ride, they got the Pistol Pete 29-inch.
Oh
GT's
yeah.
got, GT's got the Dyno's got your bike, and
Josh White.
the Josh White. Exactly.
That's a
So
top secret. Top secret. Don't tell. No,
no, nobody's gonna hear it, man.
COVID put that on hold.
Yeah.
No, but it's out. Like, yeah, Josh
Yeah.
White.
So Isaac and I talk about this as well. We know that there's like, the SEs where, that it's a huge market for them, the 29-inch bike. You got the GT, couple completes out. You got Dynos and stuff, and a couple other companies are putting out 29-inch bikes.
I just saw a red line the other day, by the way. I didn't know that existed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, we could talk about that more too. I definitely wanted to know your take on like GT Dyno, other companies or whatever. Like, yeah, they're in the market. Do you see them like sponsoring more riders on the 29-inch platform or the big bike platform? How do you see the involvement of, other than SE, like the companies, as like I said, Haro and stuff? Like, do you think they're going to get into it where they, got their own teams, or what's your take on that?
Well, I think it's already proven that, GT's covering my expenses to go on these big rides. Haro's covering their expenses. So X, Brian, and Mike get to all go to these big events for free, and they don't take the royalty from the bike. They just put it into a pot, and then they have traveling money to travel around the world and go see old friends, and it's a blessing.
No, that's dope, man. I think that's really cool to see everyone, being a part of the bike life scene or the big BMX bike scene. It's just so refreshing to have, everybody wanting to be a part of it, and having guys from the past, and having, kids that are riding today. And like we were talking the other night with one of our guests, and most of our guests say this, it's all about having fun, relationships, whether it be with your family, friends, new friends you haven't met yet. It just gets people outside, gets people stoked again that haven't ridden in a long time.
Yeah.
And, I think that's the best part of the big bike scene. It's just like a new wave of radness coming at you.
Exactly. You nailed it. I mean, like I said, it's a blessing, and I feel very fortunate to be a part of it. And I get to talk to you guys.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I mean, we're coming up on the end. Like, we can start wrapping things up, but I do want to know. I just recently saw the video of you doing that, the fakie on the rock.
Nice.
And I think, I mean, when you saw that, like, do you have a favorite moment of like, oh my God, I pulled that off?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When I
like,
pulled it off.
So thinking about,
you don't understand. Okay, I'm going to paint the picture, okay? So Mark Losey calls me up from Ride Magazine. He said, Dave, I've got to get something special for this 50th issue cover. And do you have anything? And I said, you know what? I was hiking with my kid the other day up on this hill, and I saw something. And let me go up there tomorrow, and I'll check it out, and then let you know. So the next day I brought a shovel, and I hiked up there, and I built the lip, and I was going, okay, I could do this. So I called him up. I said, hey, man, show up tomorrow at 11 o'clock because the lighting, I already felt out the camera situation because I've been doing, photo shoots for so many years. I was like, okay, this will be this situation at this time, so just show up at 11. He showed up. He puts up his video camera in one spot. He goes and climbs up to the spot where I was like, oh, this should be the angle right here. And then I just started going for it. And it was like the third try I pulled it. It was just like scary as hell, but the most relieved I've ever felt because it was so sketchy. I could have died. Like, it was gnarly if I went over the rock or anything. Like, it was jagged rocks on the backside, a cliff. Like, yeah, if you ever come to Santee, I'll take you there. Like, it's pretty cool, pretty fun. But yeah, I pulled it. I turned around. I was like, dude, that's it. It was 3 tries. I'm done. He drove back up to LA and it got the cover.
I'm gonna hang the video up like right now when you're describing this, because it's pretty incredible to see this video. It looks like it should not be done, and if anything, it's proof that there's a God and that God loves Dave Voelker, because he placed this rock right there for you. If there's a God, he put that rock there for you to do that.
Right
so,
on, man.
Craig, do you have any last questions you have?
I just want to say, Dave, it's been a fun time hanging out, dude. So glad you came on. We are so stoked that you were here tonight. And definitely, as one of the guys I watched as a kid, being able to sit here and talk with you like we're just hanging out and having fun, dude, let me say thank you, and appreciate your time and your family's time for letting us have you for a couple minutes. And man,
Dude,
just awesome, man. Awesome time. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, anytime you guys want to just call and hang out, I'll do it.
We will do it. We will do it often. And Dave, thank you for your contribution to a sport that I adore. 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old me wants to thank you for showing me that there was life beyond just Miami hoppers, and that, I could ride my bike in any situation and have a great time doing it. And that literally the world is a playground if you have a bike and you have an imagination. And I don't know that I would have discovered that without seeing the way you rode, Pete rode, Eddie rode, but just the limits that you push. Thank you on behalf of everybody in BMX that progressed beyond what we thought we would, because a couple of kids in Santee had an idea of like, we don't have to ride the way the industry says we do. So thank you for that. And thank you and good luck. Please pass along all kinds of good wishes for your son, because it's so cool to see the lineage of I almost said the bloodline, right? But like to see your
like
history continue. Yeah, the pedigree, the continuation of you and your style of riding just continues to go. So best of luck to your son and all that he does.
Oh, thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate it, man.
All right. So, hey, everybody, we appreciate seeing you. Thanks for watching us. Craig, send us on out, brother.
Man, we just want to say thank you again to the Lord Dave Voelker for showing up on the Big Bike BMX show here on YouTube. If you like what you have been listening to for the last hour or so, and you want to have more rad interviews, more rad guests coming up like Dave Voelker, hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment down there. Let us know what you think of this interview here. And we can't say thank you enough to all you listeners. We love each and every one of you. We are also streaming live on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. So if you're out there riding your bike, going to work, or doing whatever you're doing, not in front of a computer or TV, go ahead and hit those live streaming on those platforms and come hang out with us again. Ba-ba-da-ba.